Does reading a manga spoil the anime? That's a question that's been debated since the medium got popular, and it's something that you really have to test out for yourself to decide. Up until recently, I'd always assumed that reading a manga before watching the anime, or reading ahead after a season ended, would ruin my experience because I would already know what was coming. And when I saw an important scene for the first time, it wouldn't have the music, voice acting, and movement that make anime so impactful. Well, I've completely reversed my opinion in the past few years, after the first season of Kaguya-Sama Love is War was so good that I couldn't stop myself from reading ahead. Once Season 2 aired, it became incredibly apparent to me that my worries were unfounded, and that reading the manga ahead of the anime can actually greatly enhance the anime watching experience. In this video, we'll look at the top 6 reasons why I believe that reading a manga does not spoil the anime. Number 1. Knowing what will happen after reading the manga isn't the same as a traditional spoiler. Imagine this. You're in line buying a ticket to a hotly anticipated film from your superhero franchise of choice, and just as you're walking into the theater, someone else walks out saying, "Oh man, I can't believe they killed this character." For many people, including me, that soils the entire movie-going experience, as the surprise of witnessing a key moment in the film has been taken from you. Plus, that's all you'll focus on while you're watching. When is it going to happen? In contrast, when you read a manga, you still have that moment of surprise and elation when you experience an important fight scene, villain reveal, romantic confession, or sports victory for the first time. Even though it doesn't have an epic soundtrack or passionate seiyus to accompany it, a plot point that's written well and is the culmination of many chapters of build-up will always deliver a powerful impact no matter what medium it's in. Instead of thinking of reading the manga as robbing you of part of the anime experience, instead consider that it's actually gifting you with pivotal moments earlier than you'd normally be able to receive them. Plus, if you're a weekly manga reader, you have a lot less of a chance of being spoiled by a random screen cap or comment on the internet compared to the flood of posts that come with seasonal anime hype, so that's also a plus. That brings me to point number 2, which is the difference between how anime and manga are perceived versus traditional movies and TV shows that are based on written material. When's the last time you watched something live action that was based on a book and heard someone say, "I wish I didn't read the book so that I didn't know what's going to happen in the movie"? While I'm sure there are some people who might, it seems to be an incredibly uncommon position. Instead, it seems more common for people to want to read the source material before watching the movie. And that's not just because the expectation is for movies to be worse than books, though that certainly plays a role. It's true even for adaptations that are generally well received. There just seems to be something unique with anime where reading the source material is more of a suggestion than something that's expected, and I think that ends up translating into people viewing manga as a substitute for the anime, rather than something to enjoy in combination with it. That's a big reason why I think many people view reading ahead in a manga as a spoiler, because for them it's replacing instead of supplementing the anime. Plus, with how expensive it is to have a manga collection, it's often just easier to wait. The third point that I want to make is that anime and manga content don't have 100% overlap. An anime may put in filler episodes if it needs to pad its runtime before moving on to important events. And on the flip side, an anime might skip certain chapters of the manga because they're less crucial to the plot and it doesn't have enough time to fit them in. That's one of the biggest reasons I'm grateful that I read the Kaguya-Sama manga. While the anime is an incredibly faithful adaptation, the limited number of episodes means there are quite a few less important chapters that got cut altogether. After I watched Season 1, I read the manga from the beginning, and got quite a bit of extra content about the characters and plot that I wouldn't have received if I only watched the anime. And reading ahead after that point enhanced my watching of Season 2 a lot, because I had a much more thorough understanding of the relationships between everyone. And that brings me to point number 4, which is that as much as reading the manga can expand on the anime experience, the reverse is also true. The anime can add new dimensions to what you've already seen in the manga. Instead of thinking, the anime is going to show me what I already know is going to happen, think, how is the anime going to show me what I already know is going to happen? For example, the torture dance from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 is a couple of panels in the manga, but gets an entire 45-second sequence with an original song in the anime. The surprise of finding out a plot point for the first time can be replaced with the equally rewarding experience of finding out exactly how something will be adapted. I've personally found that knowing something is coming hasn't diminished my enjoyment at all, because seeing a manga moment animated is a wholly different experience. You have so many new things to experience, from the sakuga to the vocal performances. Let's move on to point number 5, which is that reading a manga helps the story stay fresh in your mind. On many occasions, when an anime takes 2 or 3 years to release a new season, I find myself forgetting certain characters or plot points because I've consumed so much other media in the meantime. If a manga is ongoing and you read it every week, you're a lot less likely to have this same lapse in memory. That said, even if you do faithfully read a manga from week to week, you're still not going to remember everything that happens, unless you have a photographic memory. So that means the anime can still surprise you. You can have that exciting moment of rediscovery, like, wow, I totally forgot that happened. The last point I want to make in this discussion is a little depressing, but it's something that definitely needs to be said. Sometimes, no matter how good an anime is, it's not going to ever get another season. And if you don't read the manga, you could be depriving yourself of a great story. Plus, if you wait too long for another season of anime to come out, you may lose interest altogether, and not end up wanting to switch over to the manga. Whereas, if you started reading sooner, you might have been a fan to the end. While I'm a relatively new manga reader, I've been working on expanding both my manga reading and my manga collection to support my favorite authors. If you're like me from a couple years ago and have been avoiding reading manga because you think it will spoil the anime experience, I'd encourage you to just test that theory once. Take one series you're interested in that you know is getting a second season and read ahead in the manga. Chances are, you'll be pleasantly surprised. And if you already have read ahead in a manga, what do you think about this debate? How did reading the manga impact your enjoyment of the anime? Thanks for watching. I'm Matrix from Matrix A&M, Anime, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it will help me out a lot as I try to grow the channel. Thanks again, and have a great day.